you, Bhanu sir. Is my slide clear to you? Is it being shown, displayed properly?
Put it in the presentation mode में कर लीजिए मैडम.
प्रेजेंटेशन मोड पे तो है सर. एक मिनट, लेट मी चेक.
नहीं, एक बार ना फिर से अनशेयर करके जो प्रेजेंटेशन मोड वाला रहेगा कर लीजिए.
ओके ओके सर. Is it visible now in presentation mode?
मैडम विजिबल है, पर प्रेजेंटेशन वाले मोड में अभी थोड़ा सा नहीं आ रहा.
But I have already shared it in presentation
अच्छा
mode.
ठीक. शेखावत is going to your room. He will help.
Okay. Is it visible now in presentation mode?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Fine, fine. Thank you, Dr. Chandrakani sir, for a brief introduction. He has said that I'm having vast experience on organic farming of vegetable. I would like to mention here that recently only I've started working on organic farming of vegetable and fruits, but I'm having a good experience in the development of horticulture-based farming system. Though I have tried my best to collate as much information as I could get for preparation of these slides. So the topic assigned for my today's talk is organic farming of vegetables and fruit crops. Just to summarize, what are the characteristics of organic farming systems in vegetables? Why do we need to have organic farming in vegetables? As we all know that protecting the long-term fertility of soil by maintaining the organic matter is our topmost priority in case of vegetable crops. Therefore, we must put all our efforts which should focus on maintaining the long-term fertility of soil by addition of organic matter, by increasing soil biological activity, and also by taking suitable mechanical interventions. Secondly, we all know that nitrogen is one of the important one of the important nutrient element which is required by the horticultural crops. Therefore, nitrogen sufficiency should be met through use of legumes and biological nitrogen fixation, as well as effective recycling of organic materials should be taken up, including crop residues and other livestock waste. We all know that in horticulture crops, there is more generation of weeds, occurrence of disease and pests is also very high. Therefore, the management of all these should rely primarily on crop rotation, use of natural predators as already discussed in the previous lecture for today's session by Cherry sir. Then crop diversity, it is also one of the important components. We should try to integrate as much crop as possible so as to have a wide diversity. Organic manuring, use of resistant varieties, and limited thermal, biological, and chemical interventions, which I'll be discussing in my coming slides. Then supplementing the crop nutrients wherever necessary by nutrient sources which are made available to the plant directly or indirectly. The extensive management of livestock, it should be done so as to make the availability of all the bio-waste or the resources which are needed for carrying out the organic farming in a better way. We should also take attention in farming system on wider environment sustainability and conservation of wildlife along with the natural habitat. I think the slide is not, yeah. So the next is objective of organic farming in vegetable crops. The different objectives as already been discussed in many of the slides are to produce food of high nutritional quality insufficient quantity. We all know that India is one of the largest producer of horticultural crops, where we are producing highly nutritious horticultural crops. So organic farming is also aiming to produce the horticultural crops which are having high nutrition, so as to feed the population with safer foods. Second is to encourage biological cycles within the farming system by using different microorganisms, soil, flora, fauna, plants, and other animals. To maintain and increase the long-term fertility of the soil and biodiversity, to use the different renewable sources, whatever are available in our field, in a better way, and to work as much as possible within a closed system with regards to organic matter and nutrient elements, and utilize the local resources very effectively. We also need to encourage organic farming in vegetable crops to reduce the use of fossil energy to the minimum. I think there is some problem in movement of slide. Are my slides moving? Can anyone please respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically my lecture is just recalling all the knowledge which is already being shared up by the all the speakers so far. So what are the prerequisites for successful organic farming, especially of horticultural crops? The first and the foremost is the site selection. We should always take care that the site which is selected for growing the horticultural crop, it should have ambient sunlight, it should have good supply of irrigation water, that too good quality irrigation water. The site should not be shady. Then the site should have approachability to the road, and also taking care of the soil status. The soil of the selected site should be healthy and it should be rich in nutrient. Second is planting. Planting should be taken care of, like we should take care of which plant has to be planted in what season. Example, the following schedule can be generally followed. If we have to take up the vegetable crops in kharif crops, like we should go for brinjal, chili, onion, okra, drumstick. For rabi season or the winter season, the crops like cauliflower, cabbage, capsicum, French bean, onion, potato, etc. can be taken up. Summer, bottle gourd, cucumber, pumpkin, ridge gourd, etc. So my point is of saying you that we should take care of the planting time is to mention here that if we go for planting the particular horticulture crops at an appropriate time of the year, the occurrence of insect pests and diseases are low. But if we have good facilities for taking the off-season vegetables, like we have protected cultivation, protected structures, greenhouses, net houses, and other mist chambers, etc., there we can go for taking up these crops throughout the year. Then irrigation is also one of the important prerequisite for successful organic farming. Neither we should give overwatering, nor we should give very less water. So we should always try to give the appropriate amount of the water, that too at the right stage of crop growth or the development. Coming to the soil preparation, we should always take care that whenever we prepare the field for cultivation, we should incorporate as much quantity of organic matter available with us as per the requirement of the crop. We should try to plow down the fields at least 15 to 20 days before the sowing of the crop. Why we should do this? Because by doing this, we will expose the soil to the sunlight, and whatever the pest and disease material, like the eggs of the insects or the fungal spore, they will all get destroyed by soil solarization. Then coming to the next important thing is crop and variety selection. As already discussed, the crop should be planted well in time, and the variety selection should also be taken care of. Like there are many varieties which are resistant to insect, pest or diseases, those varieties should be taken care of and should be taken up for cultivation as much possible as you can. I'll be discussing in my further slides what are those varieties having different criteria. Then plant nutrient requirement, as we all know that horticultural crops, including vegetables and fruit crops, they are very exhaustive, nutrient exhausting crops. So therefore, care should be taken to meet the complete requirement of the nutrients of the vegetable as well as fruit crops. And wherever it is not possible to meet the requirement of the nutrients through organic matter alone or through vermicompost, FYM alone, there we should always go for integrated nutrient management practices. We can go for composting. We all know that the waste generated in the horticulture crops is very high. So we should focus on making the compost out of all the waste we get from our field. Then second is green manuring. We all know that growing of green manuring crops and turning them into the soil add nutrients to the soil. So green manuring crops like Sesbania, Crotalaria junctia, Glyricetia, Dolichos lublub, etc. can be taken up as green manures for increasing the nutrient availability in the soil. Then another important factor is soil solarization. We should try to expose our soil to sun as much as possible, particularly during the hot scorching summers. That time we should at least try to leave our field fallow after plowing so as to reduce the inoculum of the fungus and also to destroy the larvae or the eggs of the different predators and the parasites. Then we all know that there are some starter solution also for some for transplants. So those starter solution, especially for nitrogen or phosphorus, they can be applied during the transplanting stage. Vermicompost can be taken up for filling up the nutrient requirements of the vegetable crops, but studies have been shown that vermicompost is highly effective when it is in moist condition, and it gives more beneficial effects in that very stage. As it dries up, the effects also gets slower down. So we should try to incorporate the vermicompost at the proper condition. It should be somewhat moist. Then there are also some special for purpose fertilizers, example N fertilizer, P fertilizer, or different bioformulation fertilizers that has been discussed in the morning by Cherry sir very nicely. Then different biofertilizers which can be used up for organic farming. Then first we come to successive planting and crop rotation. We know that the crop rotation is having a very important effect on the increasing the nutrient availability as well as, the underground residue left by the first crop can be successfully utilized by the second crop. Then the intercropping, we should try to practice intercropping as much as possible so as to create a break in the continuation example, and also to get the higher benefits or the additional benefits. Why we go for taking up intercropping? Number one, it also gives you additional income. Secondly, some of the crops which can act as a trap crop for different diseases and pests in organic farming, they can also be controlled to much greater extent with the help of these intercrops. Then fallowing, I've already discussed, we should try to leave the land fallow. Then mulching. Mulching has been discussed in detail in the morning lecture also, that we should try to incorporate mulch into our field, and the mulches can be live mulch or the dead mulch. So it depends upon the local climatic condition as well as the temperature, as well as the soil condition, what type of mulch you have to use. Example, in case of temperate crops, we advocate the use of plastic mulches along with use of stone for mulching. But in case of tropical crops, we do not advocate the use of plastic mulches, especially in case of summers, as well as the dry mulches in the areas where you have high incidence or the high attack of termites. So the choice of application of mulch, it totally depends upon the local conditions, availability of the material, and also on the climatic conditions. Then I'll just brief out what are the advantages of organic horticulture. First one is the consumer benefit. As we all know that definitely the crops raised through organic practices have high nutrition as compared to those crops which are grown to conventional methods. Crops are poison free, as we do not recommend the use of insecticide, pesticides, and other chemicals in organic farming. The consumer get the poison free food. Then also the enhancement of keeping quality is there in case of organic crops. Experiments have been done where we have found that the keeping quality or the shelf life of the organic grown vegetables is higher as compared to the one grown through conventional method. Then what are the different grower benefits? Grower will get benefit that there is less incidence of disease and pest in organic farming, but care should be taken if there is incidence of any disease and pest, and timely control should be recommended. Then in case of organically grown crops, we have less weed as compared to the traditional method, because we always recommend for covering higher area under different crops in organic farming. So more is the crop intensity, lesser is the weed emergence. So we always advocate for growing the higher number of the higher in crop intensity in organic farming. Then in organic farming, lower input costs, as we know that the pesticides or the insecticides, fungicide, etc., and other suitable growth regulators which are used in conventional growing, they have very high cost. So, but in case of organic farming, we go for lower cost. We go for using the biofertilizers or the bioactive ingredients which have the lower cost. Then drought resistance is higher in case of organic grown with horticultural crops as compared to the traditional crops. They have high added value, as we all know, because of the taste and the keeping quality. The organically grown produce have high added value. Then what are as everyone has pointed out the benefits only, we must also take into care what are the disadvantages if we do not go for doing this organic farming in an appropriate manner. First one is the productivity. As we know that upon the incidence of insect, pest and diseases, we should take the control measure as early as possible, because if we do not go for taking those measures in time, it can destroy almost all the crops in very short span of time. Therefore, we must take care to use all the measures in the time. Secondly, if the nutrient requirement as well as other package of practices is not given appropriately, the productivity can also decline. Then cultivation. In case of cultivation, not all the varieties of all the crops are suitable for organic farming. We have only few tested varieties which perform better under organic cultivation. Therefore, we must take into care which varieties are suitable for organic cultivation and should always go for taking up only those varieties. Then we all know that genetically modified crops are also not recommended in organic farming. Therefore, it also is one of the disadvantage, particularly when there are some of the vegetable crops. Example, we take case of BT Brinjal. So that BT Brinjal is very good crop for protection against the fruit borer. But here, when we do not go for taking up these genetically modified crops, in case we have some incidence of disease and pest, the whole crop goes into waste. Then another important factor is the time. Time is one of the important thing which we have to take into care, like at what time different intercultural operation has to be taken up, what time we should go for growing up the crop. So time is to be considered for each and every intercultural operation. Then skill. We all know that organic farming, it also requires skill. How come? We have all discussed in detail about the preparation of different bioformulation, different concoctions, different different natural enemies which we can raise for use against the protection of pests. So all these require a technical skill. We need a skill for using all these technologies in organic farming. Then this is a table which is showing what are the suggested varieties of vegetable crops which have the tolerance or resistance to diseases and pests. Like in case of brinjal, we all know that the important pest is shoot and fruit borer along with aphids, jessids and thrips. Therefore, if we have to go for taking a variety which is resistant to shoot and fruit borer in brinjal, we should always advocate the use of SM17-4, Punjab Barsati, ARV2C, Pusa Purple Round, Punjab Neelam, etc. Likewise, for bacterial wilt, we can use Arkanidhi, Utkal Tarini, Utkal Madhuri, Annamalai, etc. In case of chilies also, likewise in this table, you can see the resistant varieties of chili, cabbage, cauliflower, etc. along with other vegetable have been listed out. You can add up the varieties also, of the varieties of your area also. So it depends whatever variety or the cultivar is available in your area, which is resistant or tolerant, it always should be incorporated in your system. Then likewise, as already told, but there are different biofertilizers like Rhizobium, Azotobacter, Azospirillum, which can be successfully used in vegetable crops. This is the table which is showing how there is increase in yield of the different vegetables along with the nitrogen economy, along with the references, how different researchers have seen the positive effect of these biofertilizers in case of vegetable crops. Then this is another table showing the response of vegetable crops to biofertilizer inoculant, especially for phosphorus. We see that in case of crops like garlic, onion, potato, and pumpkin, the role of phosphate solubilizing microbes is very good. The increase in yield has been reported from 10 to 51%. In case of different crops, which I have already mentioned, along with the very judicial use of phosphorus. Likewise, use of VAM can also be taken up very successfully. Example, in case of chili, onion, potato, different researchers have used VAM and has found significant increase in yield along with the phosphorus economy. This is another table which is showing control of pests by natural enemies. So this is the detail of the natural enemy along with the reference of the scientists who have worked upon. Example, parasitic nematodes, it can be controlled easily by Myelinculus minor. Then isolates of Pistillomyces inhibited the emergence of juvenile eggs of nematode Melidogyna incognita. Control of Gundi bug in case of rice as well as other crops, it can be used by use of fermented snail. Then Bacillus thuringiensis formulation, it has been found very effective for pests like Helicoverpa armigera. Then Bacillus thuringiensis formulation is also found effective in reducing population of leaf weevil. So in this way, different natural enemies, they can be explored for use in vegetable crops. Then we'll come to crop by crop. The first crop is potato. This is generally, in general, we all know that what are the different climate and soil requirements. So just to recall, potato thrives best in cool regions where there is sufficient moisture and fertile soil. So the satisfactory tuber growth is there when the temperature is in the range of 17 to 19 degrees. Higher the soil temperature, the poor will be the tuber development. So therefore, for proper tuber development the temperature should not rise above 30 degrees centigrade. If there is higher temperature during any growth period, the size of leaflet also reduces, and hence the tuber growth is also affected. Coming to the soil, potato can be grown on wide range of soil, which range from sandy loam, silty loam, or a clay soil. Soil for potato, it should always be friable, deep, supplied with good amount of organic matter, and the soil should also be properly drained. Care should be taken that the potatoes are best suited to acidic soil, and the pH of soil should be between 5 to 6.5. Then there are some of the varieties which can be taken up for growing. Example, for tuber purpose, the varieties like Kufri Jyoti, Kufri Meghna, Kufri Giriraj, Kufri Kanchan, Kufri Himalini, etc. can be taken up. Like for chips purpose, the varieties which are suitable for chips making like Kufri Chipsona 1, Kufri Chipsona 2 and 3 can be taken up. Then coming to the seed size and the seed rate and the spacing, tubers having weight of 30 to 50 grams, they are considered the most suitable. Then large seed can also be taken up, but it should be made into small sizes, and care should be taken that whatever small size tubers we make, it should have at least 2 to 3 eyes. The distance between rows, it should be 55 and 60 centimeter, and between the plant, it should be 20 to 25 centimeter. Then for planting 1 hectare, we need 15 to 20 quintals of seed potatoes. Then there are different methods of planting, like planting potato on ridges, flat bed method, then flat surface followed by ridges. Then another one is raised and sunken bed method. When coming to the time, the best time of the planting is when the maximum and minimum temperatures are from 30 degrees centigrade to 32 degrees centigrade, and the minimum temperature is between 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. In plains, generally we recommend in the month of October, and in hills we recommend for in the month of February, and in the regions with higher altitude we recommend the planting of these tubers in the month of March and April. Then coming to the nutrient management under organic farming, potato requires high manuring. Therefore, special care should be taken for supplying potassium in adequate quantity. Application of FYM at the rate of 10 tons per hectare along with the vermicompost 5 tons, neem cake 150 kg and rock phosphate at the rate of 150 kg per hectare is recommended for taking good yield of potato under organic farming. Then liming is also recommended at the rate of 500 kg per hectare in furrows so as to reduce the problem of diseases in potatoes under acidic soils. Then we should always take care of water in case of potato. Irrigation should always be moderate and over flooding should always be avoided. And in medium to heavy soil, we generally need 3 to 4 irrigation during the cropping season. Then another, we know that earthing up is an important intercultural operation. We cover the tubers with the soil, and it is done when the plants are 15 to 20 centimeter high. The rigid which we make for doing this earthing, it should be broad, loose, and should be high enough to cover the tubers. And wherever it is required, a second earthing up can also be taken up after 2 weeks of the first earthing. Then weed management, it should be done as soon as the weed appears in the crop. The final earthing up should be done when the plants are 10 to 15 centimeter height at 30 to 35 days after planting. Then coming to the potato disease and management, I would like to put my focus only on the important pests and diseases of these crops. Like in case of potato, we all know that potato tuber moth, it damages the potato both in field as well as in the stored condition. Therefore, for management of this pest under field condition, we recommend use of healthy seed materials. We should always advocate on taking up any disease-free or the pest-free plant tubers. Then deep planting, 10 centimeter depth with proper earthing up and timely irrigation should be done. Installation of PTM 6 pheromone traps at the rate of 20 traps per hectare should be done for trapping up of the male moths of this potato tuber moth. Next is spraying the crop with microbial agents like Bacillus thuringiensis at the rate of 300 gram per hectare, granulosis virus at the rate of 2 larval equivalent per liter of the water, and if possible, inoculative release of potential parasitoids like Copidosoma or Chilonas blackburni in potato fields should be taken up. Then another important thing is we should always try to maintain a proper field condition, proper sanitation with the removal of all the leftover tubers and all removal of alternate host also from the field. Then second is control of fungal and bacterial diseases. We all know that the important fungal diseases in potato includes late blight, early blight, and Phoma blight in potato. Therefore, the following management practices should be adopted for these diseases: growing only late blight resistant or moderately resistant or tolerant varieties like Kufri Jyoti, Kufri Megha, Kufri Giriraj, Kufri Kanchan, Kufri Himalini, Kufri Girdhari should be taken up. Then seed potato should be checked thoroughly before storage. All the blight affected tuber must be removed and buried deep into the soil. We should not throw those affected tubers under the open conditions because the spores can spread very fast and the infestation also keeps on coming from season to season. Therefore, we always advocate to remove those tubers and bury deep into the soil. So as far as possible, we should always try to take the potato seed from the disease-free field. We should also take care that the ridges should be made high enough to cover the tubers and reduce the chance of their infection upon exposure. The late blight appears with congenial weather condition with high temperature and high relative humidity. So far, no organic pesticide is available for managing the late blight. We always recommend for the integrated disease management. But if any one of you is having any literature on this, kindly share it with me. Some organic pesticides such as neem oil or derisome should be sprayed at the rate of 2.5 ml per liter of water for controlling the late blight to some extent. Also, when 75% of the crop foliage is killed by late blight, the haulm should be cut and removed from the field and buried deep into the soil. As we all know, when the tubers are ready for the harvest, we advocate cutting up of the dried up leaves, which are also called as haulms. So they should be cut and removed from the field as early as possible. Harvest the crop 15 to 20 days after haulm cutting or when the skin has become firm, and also sort out the late blight in the infected tuber and store only the disease-free tubers. Then besides the above mentioned diseases, some other soil and tuber-borne diseases are also common in potato. So they can be successfully managed by adopting the following management practices. Use disease-free, preferably disease-free area or the field. Do not grow potato every year in the same field. Always go for the rotation of this field with other crops like cereal, maize, millets, and non-solanaceous crops. Follow hot weather cultivation in plains and plateau and cold weather condition in hills. That is, we must go for planting at the appropriate time of plantation. Avoid injuries to the tuber during harvest, handling, and transportation. Allow the potato tubers to cure for 8 to 10 days immediately after harvest in shade for curing. We all know that curing is important, a technique for removal of excess of moisture from the crops, and which is done by keeping the crops in the shade for at least 4 to 5 days. Therefore, we store the crops at a very appropriate relative humidity so that as to avoid the damage because of high moisture. Then store potatoes in well-ventilated stores, and if the field remains fallow, plow down the fields regularly to minimize weeds which can otherwise harbor the pathogens. Then harvesting, as you all know, harvest the crop when the skin of the tubers have become firm, and harvesting should be done on bright sunny days we should make the heap in the shade for curing, and the heap should be left undisturbed for 15 to 20 days. So under organic farming, an average yield of 20 to 25 tons can be taken up in case of potato. Then coming to the second crop, pea. You all know that pea is also a cool season crop, and it performs best at 10 to 18 degrees centigrade. It is an important frost hardy, nutritious legume vegetable and is extensively grown in temperate zone, but is also restricted to cooler altitudes in tropic and winter season in subtropic. So coming to the soil, it grows best at pH of 6.5 degree. If the pH of soil is less than 6, it is amended to improve the soil conditions. Then there are different biofertilizers which are recommended for use in case of pea. Pea seeds should be treated with Rhizobium culture. The bacterium used for inoculation is Rhizobium leguminosum. It not only helps to fix the atmospheric nitrogen, but also reduce the amount of the manures needed by the crop. And there are three methods by which these pea seeds can be treated by the Rhizobium culture. It includes seed treatment. For treatment of the seeds of pea with this Rhizobium culture, 200 gram biofertilizer is suspended with 300 to 400 ml of water. It is mixed gently with the seeds, like 10 kg, and using an adhesive like gum, jaggery solution, etc., which can act as a sticker and binding this biofertilizer onto the seeds. So these bioinoculants may get energy from the prolonged survival. In case of pea, seed rate is 80 to 100 kg per hectare. Therefore, 1.8 to 2 kg of biofertilizer is needed for treatment of the seeds through this Rhizobium culture. We can also treat the seeds by soil treatment. 4 kg of biofertilizer is mixed into 100 kg of compost and it is kept overnight. The mixture is incorporated in the soil at the time of sowing or planting. Third one is soil application. If Rhizobium inoculum is not available, 200 kg of soil, that is, we take 2 to 10 centimeter surface soil. It can be collected from any particular area where Rhizobium had been applied previously or any other leguminous crop has been cultivated. Then it should be broadcasted over the field. The seed should not be exposed to sunlight, direct sunlight after treatment with Rhizobium inoculum. It should be kept in mind that this inoculation may help in better nodulation in pea, resulting in the better fixing of nitrogen to the rate of at least 15 kg per hectare. Next is the land preparation. We all know that the land should be prepared well and at least FYM at the rate of 15 to 20 kg should be incorporated at the time of land preparation. Then sowing time, seed rate and spacing. Timely sowing is essential. Peas should be sown in the first fortnight of November up to second fortnight of December for vegetable purpose. However, for seed purpose, sowing of peas should complete before 15th of December. Late sowing of pea for seed purpose may coincide with pre-monsoon rain in month of March or April at the time of seed maturity, and also this leads to the infestation of the crop with pea rust or powdery mildew, which can result in the decline in productivity. Therefore, timely sowing of the pea is very important. About 80 to 100 kg seed is required for 1 hectare in case of dwarf cultivars and 80 to 90 kg per hectare in the mid-season and the late cultivar. The recommended spacing is the row to row spacing is 25 to 30 centimeter, while the plant to plant distance is 4 to 5 centimeters. And for some of the tall varieties, we must grow for the pole type varieties or the determinate. There are two types of varieties, determinate or indeterminate varieties. So we should advocate the indeterminate varieties for tall varieties and the determinate varieties for the short varieties. And coming next. Nutrient management. We all know that the challenge in organic system is balancing the soil fertility to supply the required plant nutrients at sufficient level. For ideal pea crop, it is required to apply about 15 to 20 tons of decomposed FYM. And in case of availability of vermicompost, 3 to 5 tons may be sufficient. Then liming should also be advocated. And the most important is application of biofertilizers like rhizobium, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria. They should be recommended for nitrogen fixation and making unavailable P into available form. Then water management, we should go for 3 to 4 irrigation at least is required for successful cultivation of pea, especially in case of uplands. For lowlands, no irrigation is required. And when this crop is grown for seed purpose, an extra irrigation at pod development stage can be given if required. Then this is just intercultural operation. We all know that trailing and staking is important intercultural operation. So the tall growing variety should always be provided with staking. Then thinning of excess of plant population should also be done at the time of first weeding, which is done at 30 days after sowing. Weeding at the latest stages, it is avoided as it may give the damage to the main crop. Then peas are harvested for table use when their pods are filled or full, and the young tender peas, they change their color from dark green to light green. So the harvesting of early varieties starts 16 to 70 days after sowing, and for mid-season variety, it starts 75 to 90 days after sowing. Then coming to the crop protection, in pea, rust is one of the important disease. This is one of the most important disease, particularly in case of northeastern regions. And it can cause damage up to 20 to 100% in the yield. The symptoms are the disease mostly attacks leaves, pods, and stems. And on the leaves, the disease appears on both the surface, but it is more prominent on the lower surface of the leaf. Minute, very small orange colored raised spots, they appear on the leaves. And the spots enlarge and they form the bigger lesions. So for management of this rust disease in pea, through organic method, we recommend removal and destruction of infected plant debris to check the infestation. Wider spacing and removal of weeds is also done to check the infestation by reducing the surrounding humidity. And third one is certified seed material should be used for planting. Then in case of powdery mildew, it is also one of the important disease of pea. The affected plant debris should be removed and burned properly. Early sowing and short duration varieties help in avoiding powdery mildew incidence. Resistance on tolerant varieties like Rachna can be used. Sulfur, if permitted, can also be used for managing powdery mildew. So you can see that in case of horticultural crops, we do not rely we do not only rely on the use of the single component of organic farming, but a mixed approach, which includes your crop rotation, use of resistant varieties, then use of natural enemies. All these are clubbed together for raising of horticulture crops. Then coming to the important insect pests of pea, leaf miner is one of the important pests. So under organic management, we need to cover the plant with the row covers to prevent the adults from getting access to the leaves and laying eggs. And also the affected plant debris should be removed and burned properly. And second is the manual collection of egg masses and destruction. Then in case of pea stem fly, the adults, they are metallic black flies, and they also infest the stem, which turns brown, becomes swollen and break down. So for management of pea stem fly, the affected branches should be removed and destroyed. Initially, when the insect is in low number, the neem-based formulations can be sprayed at the rate of 3 to 4 ml per liter of water as foliar application. Then storage pest management. For storage insect pest, grain should be free from dirt, debris or soil, and neem leaf powder, turmeric powder or sweet flag powder, whichever is available with you, it should be taken up and it should be applied at the rate of 10 gram per kg, and it has been found very effective for protection against the storage pest. Then post-harvest practice in case of pea, shelling percentage in pea ranges from 35 to 50%, and the yield, it ranges from 2 to 2.5 tons per hectare. Pea should always be packed in gunny bags or crates with suitable aeration. Then next important horticulture crop among vegetables is tomato. These are some of the suitable varieties like Avinash 2, Rocky, Pusa Ruby, Pusa Chuara, Mega Tomato, etc. Then climate and soil requirement, we generally need a temperature of 15 to 26 degrees centigrade. And for tomato, the seed weight is 400 to 500 gram per hectare. Time of sowing of nursery, we all know that we need to raise the nursery in case of tomato. So we go for raising of nursery in month of December, January. Seeds are for nursery raising. Seeds are sown in the nursery, and 1 month old seedlings, when they have 3 to 4 leaves, they are ready for transplanting to the main field. So for sowing the seeds, raised seed beds of 90 to 100 centimeter width should be made, and it should be prepared in open space. Then care should be taken to prevent the incidence of damping off, which is one of the important disease of tomato. So for management of this damping off, add 1 kg of trichoderma to 100 kg of dried FYM and 10 kg of neem cake, and then water is sprinkled for maintaining the moisture after application of this preparation. Then seeds are sown in line, followed by covering with sieved FYM and sand moisture, and then nursery bed should be covered either with the straw or polythene. Then at the time of transplanting, we should take care that the nursery is ready for transplanting after 30 to 35 days of sowing, and seedlings are transplanted at the spacing of 50 to 50 centimeters. We advocate the use of neem cake dust at the rate of 4 to 5 gram per hill at the time of transplanting to prevent the attack from caterpillar and cutworm in tomato. Then manuring in tomato, furrow application of lime at the rate of 500 kg per hectare is recommended. Then as an amelioration to correct soil acidity, then it is applied 15 days before transplanting. We apply FYM or compost at the rate of 15 tons per hectare as basal dose, to which we incorporate trichoderma and plant growth promoting rhizobacteria mix, each at the rate of 2.5 kg per hectare, and it is kept for shade for 15 days. We also advocate the application of Pseudomonas and AMF, that is arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, at the time of transplanting. Then integrated application of 10 tons of FYM with 5 tons of vermicompost, along with neem cake 250 kg and rock phosphate, which is permitted to some extent in organic farming. It can be applied at the rate of 150 kg per hectare for better growth and sustainable production. Also, we dip the roots of these transplant in 2% Pseudomonas or PGPR mix, 1 dip before transplanting to the field. For better phosphorus use efficiency, rock phosphorus can be applied at the rate of 150 kg per hectare. Then in case of weed management, 2 weedings are sufficient for optimum growth. In case of tomato, some organic ingredients have been tried and can be recommended for use, like for top dressing. Top dressing of organic ingredients. Top dressing can be done at 7 to 10 days interval with any of the following. That is, first one is the soil application of fresh cow dung slurry at the rate of 1 kg per 10 liters of water. Soil application of biogas slurry at the rate of 1 kg of biogas slurry per 10 liters of water. Soil application of cow's urine is recommended at the rate of 500 liters per hectare. That is 8 times dilution is needed for application of cow's urine. Then soil application of vermi wash at the rate of 500 liters per hectare. Soil application of vermicompost, poultry or powdered goat manure is also recommended at the rate of 1 ton per hectare. Soil application of groundnut cake 1 kg per 10 liters of water can also be used. Therefore, depending upon the availability of these organic ingredients, you can use any of the formulation at the recommended rate. Then after cultivation, give pre-transplanting irrigation if the soil is not moist. Then irrigation is done at 2 to 3 days interval during the peak summers. We go for staking of the plants if the plant have luxuriant growth, or if we have taken up the indeterminate varieties for cultivation. Then weeding is followed by organic manure application, and earthing up may be done at 1 or 2 months after transplanting. You all know that in case of tomato also, earthing up of plants is also done so as to avoid the direct touch of the plant with the water, which may otherwise cause much yield loss with the infestation of pests and diseases. Then provide mulch in the field throughout the crop growth period with materials like green leaves, plant residue, decomposed biomass, etc. Then coming to the plant protection in case of tomato, bacterial wilt is one of the most important disease. Pseudomonas fluorescens based formulation are effective against bacterial wilt in tomato. Use of biocontrol agents for seed treatment, seedling dip, soil drenching, or foliar spray based upon Trichoderma and Pseudomonas fluorescens. They can be used, which helps in managing important diseases like late blight and early blight of tomato. Then field sanitation, crop nutrition, removal of infestation plant. These are also some common preventive measures. Then fruit borer is one of the major insect pests of tomato. We all know that almost 30% of the crop can be wasted up by this single pest alone. Therefore, for control of this fruit borer, application of neem oil at the rate of 3 ml per liter and nuclear polyhedrosis virus, also EPN, entomopathogenic nematodes, are useful in managing this fruit borer. Application of Panchgavya 3% solution along with lentana extract 10% and wormy wash 10% solution at the time of flowering, and at 10 days interval has been found effective in controlling this pest. Coming to the harvesting and picking, tomato fruit should be picked up at appropriate stage, and fully ripe fruits, they should be harvested for local markets, and whereas the fruits which start showing coloring, they should be harvested for the distant market. So normally under organic production system, tomato can give you yield of 25 to 35 tons per hectare. Then this is a table which is showing tomato diseases and ways to manage them organically. Like in case of early blight, which is caused by Alternaria solani, what is important to know that this infestation occurs on the old leaves, and dry and brown spots with concentric circles. And these are just the symptoms. Then what are the preventive measures to control this early blight? Infection sources are in soil. Therefore, we recommend crop rotation. The seeds should be put in hot water treatment by 50 degrees centigrade for at least 50 minutes. And we should always avoid seeds from infested sources. Then direct measure, what we can do, if possible, we can go for the application of copper if it is permitted, and especially before rainy or a wet period to control this disease. Then second is also late blight. For late blight also, we need to take up an integrated approach, like for spore germination for at least 4 hours. High humidity increases this infestation. Therefore, we should try to maintain proper sanitation. Controlled irrigation should be taken care of, and selection of the resistant or the tolerant variety should be used. No overdosing with organic fertilizer or any other bioformulation should be done. Then this is another table which is showing how you can go for control of gray mold. So the pruning of infected leaves should be taken care of, and select the varieties with the disease resistance. Then another one is leaf spot or septoria leaf spot. For that, we need to maintain proper hygiene in a field along with crop rotation, and also avoiding the overwatering. Then for anthracnose, use of resistant varieties, optimal sanitation, then crop rotation should be advocated. This is another table showing tomato pest and ways to manage them organically. Example, in case of aphids, which suck the saps, and also vector of various deadly diseases of the tomato crop, we should recommend the use of insecticidal soap, release of beneficial insects if they are available, like ladybird beetle, lace wings, and application of Beauveria bassiana, pyrethrum, or rotenone. It can be advocated. Then second, for army worm, release of beneficial insects, application of BT or larva, but this is not recommended in organic farming. Therefore, we go for use of different oils for control of this army worm. Then for blister beetle, application of pyrethrum, rotenone, and sabotilla. Then for cut worms, we use parasitic nematodes to the soil, and also maintaining the proper moisture condition. Then another worm is the pin worm. So there we go for destroying the infested fruit. These are just the small ways how you can manage the different pests of tomato. Then direct measures for weed regulation in organic tomato production. Like we should go for maintaining open soil conditions, soil vaporization should be done. Then dead mulch should be removed from the soil. Use of plastic mulch can be done. It improves the soil structure, regulates weed growing within the crops, and also high content of seed weed is also recommended. And also it takes care of your moisture requirement of the crop as it reduces the water loss. Live mulches can also be incorporated for improving the soil structure, and after mulching, provide the nutrients which are required by the crop. Then coming to the next crop, okra. Then these are the different varieties which are generally recommended for growing. Bindi number 10, Pusa Savni, Pusa Makhmali, Arka Namika, Sikkim local, etc. Then for field preparation, the seed bed should be well prepared. Then farmyard manure at the rate of 20 to 25 tons per hectare should be incorporated and mixed in the soil at least 30 days before sowing of the crop. Biofertilizer like azospirillum at the rate of 2 kg per hectare, it should be mixed with 20 kg of FYM or compost for incorporation in the soil. Sowing time, generally we go for spring or summer season crop. The optimum sowing time is mid-February to mid-March, and for rainy season crop, mid-May to mid-June is the timing. Seed rate of 15 to 20 kg per hectare and 10 to 12 kg per hectare is sufficient for spring or summer or the rainy season crop. Then sowing of the crop, it can either be done in flat bed or in the raised bed. Generally, the seeds are sown at the spacing of 45 by 30 centimeter for spring or summer crop, and for rainy season crop, the distance is 45 by 60 centimeter. We also recommend the soaking of seeds for 24 hours so as to facilitate the early germination of the seeds. Then organic nutrient management, well decomposed FYM or compost at the rate of 15 tons per hectare, or FIM at the rate of 7.5 tons, or vermicompost 2.5 tons per hectare, along with 150 kg of rock phosphate and 100 kg neem cake or mustard cake, whichever is available, should be applied to the field at least 15 days before sowing and incorporated well in the soil. So recommended dose of nutrient for okra is 60, 50, 40 kg NPK per hectare. Then for weed management, we should try to remove the weed from the soil during initial stages of growth of the main crop. Weeding can be done 20 to 25 days after sowing, and subsequent weeding can be done whenever it is required. Then diseases, in okra, one of the important diseases is yellow vein mosaic. It is a viral disease. The infected leaves become yellow in color with the tissue between them retaining green color. But in later stages, the entire leaf completely turns yellow. And the fruits of the infected plant, they become small, malformed, hard and yellowish in color. Therefore, for control of this disease, integrated approach should be followed. Varieties like Arca anamica, Arca abhe are tolerant to this disease. Therefore, they should be advocated for cultivation. Some of the other management options are removal of infected plants from the field, followed by burning, removal of weeds and other wild hosts, spraying of 5% neem seed kernel extract for controlling vector. The vector is whitefly, and also the selection of tolerant varieties recommended. And second important disease is Sarcospora leaf spot. So to control this disease, removal and destruction of infected plant material, spraying of 5% neem seed kernel cake, it helps in checking this disease. For powdery mildew, etc., for powdery mildew, there is, the development of whitish color powdery growth on the upper and lower surface. So avoid late planting and adopt proper crop rotation to escape from this disease. Sulfur can be used wherever it is permitted for management of powdery mildew. Then coming to harvesting, it is ready for harvest 50 to 60 days after planting. And from 1 hectare area, 5.5 to 7.5 tons of green pods can be obtained for summer crop, while 10 to 12 tons can be taken up for rainy season crop. Then another important crop is beans. Bean, it is generally taken up for pod purpose, but it is also taken up for green pods. Dry pods also taken up from this crop. Therefore, it depends. The selection of the variety, it depends upon the purpose, whether the bean is being grown for green tender pod or for the seed purpose. Then beans generally require soil temperature of 8 to 10 degrees centigrade for germination and 12 degrees centigrade air temperature. So generally, it is grown in the areas which are having low temperature. Then for fertilization, a general nutrient requirement for beans is 30 kg of nitrogen per hectare, 20 kg of phosphorus and 70 kg of potassium. In normal active and organically managed soil, the requirement of beans can be covered with additional organic fertilizer, especially if green manure crops can be incorporated. If soil have low nutrient content, compost or animal manures up to 15 tons per hectare should be applied 2 weeks before the seeding. It is important to avoid utilizing too much organic fertilizer, as high supply of nutrient make beans more susceptible to diseases. So we should always take care that we should avoid overdosing of the nutrients to the horticultural crops, which may otherwise invite more of pests and diseases. Then harvest period can be determined whether the dry matter content with the dry matter content of the pod, and in general for fresh market the pods can be they are washed and stored at temperature of 5 to 10 degrees centigrade. Then another important crop is brinjal. We all know that brinjal belongs to the family Solanaceae, and it is a cold sensitive crop that requires long warm season for best yields. So this is just the temperature range. For germination, it requires day temperature of 23 to 25, night temperature also 23 to 25. But for transplant, 20 to 25 day temperature, night temperature should be a bit low. For planting, 20 to 25, night temperature should be 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. Then it is also called as eggplant, also known by this name. So it requires long growing season. So therefore, transplant are most commonly used for growing up the brinjal. Then they are usually started in greenhouse or hotbed. Sow the seeds in shallow flats of soil mix of 9 to 10 weeks before transplanting to the field. Constant temperature must be maintained, as young plants are easily checked by cool temperature or droughts. Therefore, we should always keep a check on the temperature when the transplanting are in the ready phase. Then suitable varieties. Consumers' preference are varieties of long eggplants, but there are many other varieties. People go for round shape also, and then it also depends upon the preference of the variety with the resistance to specific disease. So propagation and nursery management, seed should be sown in plastic bag, seedling tray or pro tray, whatever is available with you. And it generally takes 10 to 15 days to germinate. Transplanting is done at the 3 to 4 leaf stage. Then the distance of sowing is between the rows, it is 1 to 1.5 meters, and among in between the rows, it is 0.8 to 1 meter. Then we go for design of rotation. In brinjal, we always recommend for the crop rotation. So due to certain diseases, correct rotation is of great importance for brinjal. It should never be planted before or after cultivation of any other solanaceous crop, such as tomato or potato. So we should take care of this thing. Brinjal grows well after leguminous crops. So in the fields where we have taken up the leguminous crop, we always advocate taking up this brinjal plants. Organically grown brinjal are planted in rotational system. Organic growers have very good experience in planting leguminous cover crops for the brinjal plant. Example for hairy witch. This is also one of the, this is also known by the name of hairy caterpillar, which is one of the potent pest of brinjal. Soil and nutrition, as a general use, we always recommend for integrated approach with the application of different manures, whatever are available with us. So correct fertilization is made in according with the different factors such as soil type, growth stage, and fertilizer availability. Then coming straightway to the pest and disease management, brinjals are susceptible to physiological disturbances, diseases, and pests. So preventive measures against such pests and diseases should be taken, like optimal site selection of pest and disease resistant varieties, wide rotation. In case of soil-borne diseases, at least a 4 period should be free of brinjal production. At least for 4 cropping season, we should not have taken up brinjal in that particular field. Then creation of semi-natural habitats and ecological compensation areas should be taken up. We can also plant up some natural habitats or also go for encouraging the trap crop. Improve soil fertility and activate soil microbial life with the application of different bioformulations. We should take care of balanced nutrient supply. This is a table which is showing the diseases of eggplant or the brinjals and what are the different ways to manage them. Like for Verticillium Wilt, preventive measures include long-term rotation, non-related crop to be taken up. Cotton gin or trash can be avoided or be composted if we want to properly use them. Then another important is the early blight. For early blight, plants that are well fertilized and irrigated, they are not susceptible. So care should be taken to properly fertilize and irrigate the plant. Long rotation, weed control, adequate fertilizer and irrigation, it helps in reducing the losses. Then this is also another table which is showing the brinjal pest along with the control for aphids, potato beetle, then spider mites, etc. Then I'll take a few of the fruit crops also, because taking up individually all the vegetable crop is not feasible and a possible method. I'll be sharing my slide along with 3-4 other documents on this organic farming of fruits and vegetables after this lecture is over. So I'll be sharing those things in the WhatsApp group. I have taken up only 3 to 4 fruit crops for discussion. Rest I'll be sharing through all the documents. In those documents, you'll be finding the organic management practices for almost all the fruit crops. So for mango is one of the important tropical fruit crop. It can be grown up to 1,100 meter above the mean sea level. Ideal temperature range is 24 to 27 degrees centigrade. And the soil requirement for mango is the pH should be 7.5. Above the pH of 7.5, the mango does not thrive properly. Therefore, care should be taken to have slightly acidic soil of your field. Then for land preparation, pits of 90 centimeter cube are dug during summer month. The operation is done by utilizing the planting board so that precise location of the plant is made available in the center. So while digging pits, you all know we go for intermixing of topsoil with the subsoil and then mixing the well-rotten FYM with the soil and filling the pots with that mixture. So this helps in exposing the harmful soil organism to weathering agencies and provides better aeration to the root zone. Then pit of the plant is filled with 20 kg of FYM, 5 kg of vermicompost, and biofertilizers like azospirillum and phosphobacteria should be added. Green manuring is also done with the onset of monsoon in July-August with either dhencha or sunhemp, whichever green manuring crop is available with you and is taken successfully in your area, it should be taken up. In the mango orchards also, we always advocate for taking up leguminous green manuring crops, which helps in nitrogen fixing pesticides, providing excellent green cover to the entire field and also preventing the evaporation losses. Then spacing is generally 7 to 10 meter, which is recommended. Then this is the list of different varieties like Neelam, Bangalora, Alfonso, you all are knowing well, Malika, Amrapali, Arka Amo, Arka Aruna, Arka Puneet. Then varieties which are specific for processing like Alfonso, Banganpali, Totapuri. So these are the different varieties which are recommended for cultivation. Then planting, it is generally done with the advent of monsoon. Generally, we go for planting in the monsoon season. However, if you have irrigation facilities available with you, planting can also be done in the month of February. Then water management, the water requirements mainly depends upon the age, soil type and the climate. However, the young plants up to 2 years of age should be watered regularly. Particularly, care should be taken during the summer months. They should be daily watered with the ample amount of water. The newly planted grass needs about 25 to 30 liters of water every day. Irrigating the grown up trees after fruit set at 10 days interval, increasing the yield. Then care should be taken to not to water your plants in flowering stage. So we generally advocate for stopping the irrigation at the flowering stage. Therefore, do not go for irrigating your orchards when it is in full bloom stage. Then the mango growers commonly practice drip irrigation. Drip irrigation can be taken up wherever it is possible. Then cultural practices like weeding is taken. Then for manuring, generally we go for the supplementary nutrients which which generally diminishes over a period of time. Therefore, we go for including those practices like mulching, green manuring, application of biofertilizer, application of compost, etc. We also go for use of mulches. Mulches can be either live mulch or dead mulch. Then green manuring crops. In mango, generally application of organic manures 10 to 20 kg per tree, or vermicompost or other compost which are available, it is always recommended. Then neem-based foliar preparation is also recommended for management of different pests. Then this is a list which is showing different pests like fruit fly, mango mealybug, mango hopper, mango shoot caterpillar. So these all can be effectively managed with an integrated approach only. Likewise for guava. For guava, we straightway go to integrated nutrient management. We go for application of 15 to 20 kg of FYM per plant in case of guava, along with the application of 1 kg neem cake. Biofertilizer also play an important role in case of guava and should be supplied if possible. Some of the biofertilizers like Pseudomonas, Trichoderma, phosphate solubilizing bacteria should be used. Then for pest management, we all know that fruit fly is one of the important pests which affects the guava fruit very drastically. So fruit fly is a serious pest. During the monsoon season, the fly lays eggs on the surface of the fruits, and on hatching, the maggots enters the fruit and causes a fruit drop. So management of this fruit fly can be done by the destruction of infected fruits and clean cultivation. There are different orchard floor management practices which are to be followed in orcharding. Therefore, we should try to keep the field or the floor of the orchard as much clean as possible. Then application of pheromone traps in grava field also is an effective management for fruit fly. The solution of pheromone is formulated with ethanol and methyl eugenol and malathion and is used at the rate of 1 trap per acre. Then fruit fly incidence can also be reduced to 10% when compared to 50 to 60% during the first crop period. The pesticide usage for fruit fly management by the farmers, it is also reduced by the use of these pheromone traps. Currently, due to its effectiveness and efforts of CFA Ludhiana, it has proved as a boon for fruit fly management in guava fields. Then second is Spiraling Witte. This is also a severe infestation disease which gives silvery appearance of the guava leaves. Affected leaves turn yellow and cracks and fall down. We advocate the use of neem oil at the rate of 5 ml per liter. Then bark eating caterpillar. The caterpillar feeds on the bark of the tree. And then festive plant shows the presence of some ash-like galleries or the excreta which is coming out of those holes as a symptom of this bark-eating caterpillar. So for management of this bark-eating caterpillar, field sanitation, removal of excreta of the caterpillar from that hole. It can also be killed by injecting 5 ml kerosene or petrol into the holes which are infested with this caterpillar, and then thereby closing the hole with the mud or the clay. Then coming to the disease management in guava, the deadly disease wilt is one of the important disease. It can be managed by planting the varieties like L49, which is resistant to wilt. Then application of 90 kg of FYM with 10 kg of neem cake and 2 kg of Trichoderma viridi is recommended, which is to be applied at the base of the tree in the month of June. Second is the drenching of the trees with carbendazim or benomyl 1 gram or copper oxychloride at the rate of 3 gram per liter, and it is recommended thrice at 10 days interval. In alkali soil where the wilt is severe, application of 1 kg of lime is recommended in the basin of tree along with the green manure. Irrigate the guava plants thoroughly, especially in summer months where wilt disease incidence is severe. So this is an integrated package which we need to follow in case of guava wilt management. Then mass multiplication of Aspergillus niger as an important component in management of guava wilt. You know that this Aspergillus niger has been proved to have a very significant role in lowering the incidence of guava wilt. So guava wilt is a long-standing national problem and it is causing substantial loss. Soil-borne disease, multiple organisms are involved in this. The Fusarium oxysporum, Fusarium solani, and Gliocadium rosum are the predominant causal organisms for this deadly disease. Application of Aspergillus niger AN17 strain, a competitive saprophytic fungi, is helpful as a bioagent component in this wilt management. 1 week old culture at the rate of 1 gram per kg is mixed thoroughly in FYM and then sprinkled with water and covered with the polythene sheet. After 4 to 5 days, polythene sheet is removed. Water is sprinkled to maintain 30% moisture and it is mixed thoroughly, again covered with the polythene sheet. So this process is repeated to ensure the proper multiplication of Aspergillus niger to have very high colony formation unit in the FYM. And then this treated FYM is applied to the plant. The adult trees are supplied with this mixture at the rate of 10 kg per pit in the basin and is repeated every year in the month of June. So this approach has also been found very useful for the management of guava wilt. Then this is the table which is showing the guava pest and organic control measures, like fruit fly is also one of the important pests. So fruit bagging is one of the important technique which can prevent the attack of this fruit fly in organically grown guava fruits. We recommend fruit bagging along with thinning 2 months after flowering. Then field hygiene, then mass trapping. We can use the baits with organic insecticides in the field. Then release of brachynoid parasites and nematodes. These can be advocated or used for control of this fruit fly. Then likewise, guava moth or fruit fly, they can be controlled significantly with the use of these pheromones or the traps. Then in case of guava diseases, then like anthracnose, we recommend the use of Bordeaux mixture. Then Fusarium solemn, then fruit scab, and that also can be controlled effectively with the use of Bordeaux mixtures. So we go for phytosanitation along with the application of Bordeaux mixture for the control. Then coming to the important crop leaching, this is the table showing the important diseases and the pest, showing the pest of lychee, like lychee beetle, which can be controlled by excluded with netting of a suitable mesh. And for biological control, tree is the larva fed on the rotting organic matter. Heavy mulching is avoided then to attract the grubs. So this is just the table. Then coming to the end of the session, what are the suggestions for promotion of organic farming in India? You know, we all are advocating the use of organic management practices in almost all the crops. So what are the different possible suggestions which can be a torch bearer or can give the light for promoting organic farming in a better way, especially in our country? It includes some suggestions have been made for success story of organic farming in India, which must be kept in mind. Like they are establishment of a center of excellence and countrywide network for research on organic farming. We should have a collision of all the knowledge, whatever is available throughout the country at a single place, and it should be shared throughout the country so that effective organic management can be taken up. Then documentations of available indigenous technical knowledge and other technologies developed by various public sector research centers, NGOs, individuals on different aspects of organic farming, it should be collated. Introduction of core courses on the concepts and practices in organic farming should be taken up in universities under different course curriculums. Then standardization of mechanisms or methods for suitability or judging organic farming practices should be done. Formulation of appropriate package of practices of production of different crops under organic farming systems should be done. So I would like to bring to knowledge of all of you that so far in horticultural crops, only in few crops specific package of practice has been developed so far, but attempts are in pipeline to develop the appropriate organic farming packages specific to the different crops. So hopefully within a short span of time, we will be having the package of practices for almost all the horticultural crops, but so far we have to wait. Export groups comprising of eminent agricultural as well as social scientists and progressive farmers may be constituted for visiting farms of successful farmers associated with organic farming practices. This is one of the important ground activity which should always be encouraged. The farmers or the entrepreneurs who are taking up this organic farming system, their field should be visited and field exposure visits should be done for different groups of stakeholders so as to give them the live demonstration. As we all know that by seeing is believing, so we should always advocate that to take those people directly into the field. Then dissemination of knowledge on organic farming through KVKs, field demonstrations, TV programs and other suitable mass media should be done in a larger way, in a big way. Then coming to the conclusion of my slide, organic farming has twin objectives. First one is this development of a sustainable system, and second one is the environment friendly system. So in order to achieve these two goals, organic farming should be done. There is very little scope for change and flexibility. Therefore, the organic farming does not require best use of the available option rather the best use of the options that have been approved. These options are usually more complex and less effective than the conventional system. Second is, with ever increasing population having huge requirement of vegetables, only meager availability of organic resources, pure organic farming is not possible in India. Rather, we should advocate for some specific areas which can be diverted to organic farming for exporting high quality vegetable crops. Therefore, we should identify the crops with particular varieties and also the niche areas where these crops can be taken up successfully under organic management practices. For Indian agriculture, use of chemical fertilizers cannot be totally eliminated, rather can be reduced or minimized. It has been proved by various experiments that by conjoint application of inorganic fertilizers along with the various organic sources, they are capable of sustaining higher crop productivity and high soil quality besides applying the different organic sources. They can be used for increasing the deficiency, for decreasing the deficiency of the secondary and micronutrients. So therefore, we must focus to have an integrated approach if possible. But if in case of identified the crops, along with identified varieties, we should go for organic management practices. Thus, in India, adoption of pure organic farming is possible partially, more specifically for the crops having higher export potential in international market. I am saying this line so because in case of fruit crops, so far proper organic management practices have not been developed, especially for the deadly diseases and the deadly pests. So with time, when we will be having those proper packages, that time we can go for taking 100% organic cultivation of horticultural crops. But till now, we can identify only suitable horticultural crops in suitable niche areas. So that's all for my lecture.